It would be easy to laugh at Donald Trump's administration, his failures, his insane speeches, his ridiculous actions, his shockingly unqualified captain nominees, if it wasn't so sad, scary, and evil. But sometimes we do just have to laugh at Donald Trump. And that is exactly what happened on live TV when it was realized that Donald Trump may have made one of the literally costliest decisions of his presidency. And we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, Chris Hayes did some very incredible reporting on one of the most ridiculous decisions of Donald Trump's presidency, which cost New York City almost $80 million in a day, that then, of course, had to be backtracked, and so...
All right, here's a question. Where does a city keep all of its money? The answer is, just like everyone else, they keep it in a bank. The biggest city in the country, New York City, has accounts at a regular bank. And on Wednesday morning, when officials checked the balances, they noticed that $80 million was missing. For a time, it wasn't clear where it went or who took it. And then yesterday afternoon, there was a break in the case, a confession from President Donald Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, tweeting, quote, "I have clawed back the full payment that FEMA deep state activists unilaterally gave to New York migrant hotels." That's MAGA speak for, I took New York's money.
Let's be clear, this is highway robbery.
The city's comptroller calling out the federal government for snatching millions of dollars right from New York City's bank accounts, FEMA funds to provide services for migrants, including shelters like at the Roosevelt Hotel.
This is the newest lawless gambit by Trump and his unelected co-president, Elon Musk, an attempt to basically detonate constitutional governance from within. By doing two things both men have a lot of practice at: reneging on contracts, refusing to pay people who perform services for them. So the whole thing starts, as so many of these stories do, with a tweet from Musk. Early Monday morning, the world's richest man tweeted that the Doge team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief, instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. You'll not be surprised to hear almost all of that's complete bunk, as city officials were quick to point out. The $59 million Musk is talking about was part of the larger $80 million outlay to the city. Only a fraction of it was used to house migrants, and not a single penny of it came at the expense of any disaster relief. In fact, the payment was issued through a grant from the Shelter and Services Program, a separate part of the government budget, but it's administered by FEMA and initiated by Congress in 2023 to issue grants to cities and organizations providing services to migrants who have been released from federal custody after crossing the border. That is to say, money appropriated by a vote in Congress, both houses, approved by President Joe Biden, right, to house legal migrants during an upswing in immigration in the United States. It was not to house them in luxury, also, as you might imagine. It was to convert an old Manhattan hotel into a kind of modern-day Ellis Island where migrants were processed, given a health check, and offered temporary shelter and help.
Migrants are connected to a case manager who will help them decide next steps. If they want to connect with family or friends in a different state, the city will help them get there. If they need a shelter bed, the city will then assign them to a shelter site and help them get started on filing their asylum papers.
When migrants do get a place to sleep, the city comptroller says they observe the federal program's cap on hotel and shelter prices. That cap is currently $12.50 a night. Yes, you heard that right. $12.50 a night in New York City. Okay, those are the facts. But within hours of Musk's tweet, the Trump White House fired FEMA's chief financial officer and 3 others for dispersing the legally allocated funds to New York City. Again, congressionally appropriated funds to cover an ongoing approved activity. And the co-presidents were adding new false details to their lies about the case.
A hotel has paid $59 million, $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants, all illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a racket.
Based on those lies, they used the powers of the federal government to reach into the city's bank account to pluck back $80 million Congress authorized. They're taking money out of other people's bank accounts, calling it a clawback of taxpayer money. A lot of other people call it stealing $80 million. Brad Landers, New York City Controller, essentially the city's chief financial officer, and he joins me now. It's good to have you here. Okay, walk me through how you discovered this.
Yeah. So yesterday morning, my chief budget deputy controller says $80 million is gone from the Treasury account of the Department of Finance. We think it was taken back by the federal government.
Did you know they could do that?
Never. I said, has this ever happened before? It is unprecedented. They gave us this money. As you say, Congress authorized it. We have a contract, a signed contract. We sent them an invoice detailing all those expenses to only $12.50 a night on hotels. They sent us the money and approved the invoice. And then, lo and behold, they just yank it right back. It is highway robbery.
Now, I want to be clear on one technical detail. I thought that we discovered that Treasury has some secret back end through the financial system to take people's money, which seemed really worrisome. This was an ACH payment, which technically can be canceled within 5 days. Although anyone who's ever gotten like a direct deposit knows that when it shows up in your bank, it's in your bank. You have the money.
Now, let's be clear. I mean, we spent it last year.
Right.
We had actually moved it over the 5 days since they gave it to us. So when they actually did the clawback, it caused the account to overdraft by $79.5 million.
Trump frames himself, and Elon does as well, as this genius of business and cutting costs and getting rid of the red tape. Executing on getting rid of waste, making the government more efficient. But in an $80 million overdraft, this is the reckless, like meat axe that we're bringing to not even reshaping the government. I hate to discuss what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing, and any terms that make it seem like this is a project of calculated maneuvers to do anything but
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Today we are seeing the most significant act of principled defiance against Donald Trump's lawlessness since he retook the Oval Office. It all kicked off when Donald Trump's own acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District, appointed by Trump for New York, resigned after less than just a month on the job. Her name is Danielle Sassoon. You see her there. She stepped down this afternoon after Trump's Department of Justice ordered her to drop the federal government's corruption case against New York City's Democratic Mayor Eric Adams, something she refused to do. And to be clear about the context here, Sassoon is not a what you would call resistance liberal. She was appointed by Donald Trump 3 weeks ago. She was a member of the right-wing legal organization, the Federalist Society. She clerked for the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, one of the fathers of modern conservative legal thought. But today, Sassoon put her loyalty to the rule of law ahead of her ideological affiliations. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Sassoon said in no uncertain terms that the deal to halt Adams' prosecution, with the possibility of reviving the charges at some future date, was part of a backdoor deal to get Adams to support Trump's immigration crackdown in New York. Sassoon recalls a meeting with the acting Deputy Attorney General, Emil Bovee, and the mayor's lawyers. All right, everyone's in the room. And here I quote from Sassoon's letter. Adams' attorneys repeatedly urged what amounted to a quid pro quo, indicating that Adams would be in a position to assist with the department's enforcement priorities only if the indictment were dismissed. Adding, rather than be rewarded, Adams' advocacy should be called out for what it is, an improper offer of immigration enforcement assistance in exchange for a dismissal of his case. Now, a lawyer for Mayor Adams denies those allegations, saying in part, the idea that there was a quid pro quo is a total lie. We offered nothing and the department asked nothing of us. But I got to say, that's complicated by the letter that Emil Bovee himself sent to Sassoon back on Monday, which we covered on the show, in which he ordered her to drop the charges explicitly so that Adams can more effectively enforce Trump's immigration policy. Because, as Bovee argues, the pending prosecution has unduly restricted Mayor Adams' ability to devote full attention and resources to the illegal immigration and violent crime that escalated under the policies of the prior administration. Crime, by the way, is down in New York considerably over the last few years. Now, realizing the optics here, right, of putting this to paper, Bovee then hastily added one of the most incredible footnotes I've ever seen in a government document. After laying out, like, we want you to pause the prosecution so that the mayor can help us on immigration, he then added a footnote, just to be clear, that there was nothing untoward going on. As Mr. Bovee clearly stated to defense counsel during our meeting, the government is not offering to exchange dismissal of a criminal case for Adams' assistance on immigration enforcement. No, obviously that's not what they're doing, right?
It really does not get much worse than the current state of affairs. This is insane. Trump is actively coercing people with his quid pro quos to do whatever he wants. It's something that I like to talk about or hate to talk about. But I think it is important we talk about. With tariffs, it is not just a mechanism for Donald Trump to pretend to be tough and strong. It's a way for him to get concessions or support out of business leaders. You're not going to listen to me. I'll TFF you. You do something nice for me, I'll make sure you don't get tiered. It is the mob boss mentality of Donald Trump. It is the corruption president in every part of his life. And it's blatant. And it's illegal. It's crazy weaponization of government when it's Joe Biden allowing his son to be prosecuted. But, when Donald Trump is actually doing that, these people are terrible, but we're going to call them out. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.